Welcome to this video. This video is about ice core samples in Antarctica. I think it's Lake Vostok. Um, so it's over a period of 420,000 years. This is 400,000 years. This is 0 years, and this is 420,000 years. And in the top part, you have the temperature. This is as reference 0 degrees Celsius. So this is our Holocene we are in. It's quite long. It seems longer than the former one, and certainly longer than this one, than this one, and it could be much shorter than this one. That was roughly 400 to 420,000 years ago. Anyhow, it seems quite constant to around 0 degrees in Antarctica. What calls attention? So this is the latest interglacial. We call it, or scientists call it Holocene. And this is also an interglacial, but the scientists don't call it Holocene. Only this one is called Holocene. So between two interglacials, you have the ice age period, which should be roughly 100,000 years. If you take this distance and you put it here, it looks to me as a little bit over 110, a little bit over 100,000 years. So in this period, you still see fluctuations, but you see the temperature going down from here, certainly. And then if you leave out this dip, you see a line going down. Also here, you see a line going down. You see a line going down. You see a line going down. That is, well, that calls attention. You have this glacial interglacials, glacial, and then these interglacials. And then the latest one, the one we are in, is called Holocene. So we see here carbon dioxide in the middle, the green curve, but we don't pay attention to it right now. There's very interesting information and important information in it, but we don't. It's not our subject right now in this video. Dust concentration, however, is very interesting because while the temperature goes down, the dust concentration goes up. Because this is still here. It's not in the Holocene. It's not in the Interglacial. And when we come in the Interglacial, the dust concentration is very low. So dust concentration is high in interglacials and is rising in interglacials. Also calls attention that this dust concentration seems to be increasing in every cycle of ice age. That could be important, that should be understood. That is, if we're going backwards when it comes to dust concentration, because dust concentration must be hindering during interglacials, during these interglacials. We assume that humans survived in the tropics and that Native Americans, that we claim to be our origin, survived in the Amazon forest. But that was not limited to the Amazon forest, but For sure, they survived in the Amazon forest in these periods. Uh, if there was forest, and most probably there was Amazon forest, but probably less than today, less than in the Holocene. If there was Amazon forest, then probably this dust peaks in glacials wouldn't disturb them much. The Amazon amaranths in the Amazon forest, but it could disturb any other part of the world. So during a glacial, two things are starting to disturb more and more. That is, the temperature is dropping. While we think that does not matter for the Amazon forest and for possibly not even for equatorial regions, it could hinder for anything that is outside of Amazon forest and equator. Um, and next to it, uh, maybe the decrement in carbon dioxide could hinder, but I said we leave that aside. But anyhow, the dust could hinder. So for them to survive in and outside the Amazon forest during glacials, they needed to get out on a regular base. What is a regular base? What would that be? There is no mechanism that explains glacial interglacial. So we think that the humans took matters in their own hands and that they decided every so much cycles, but we don't go in this matter, but with cycles we think of precession cycles that are roughly 26,000 years. So 100,000 years is roughly four cycles, four precession cycles. And there is evidence that the ancients knew very well about precession cycles because we see, let's say, diagrams that demonstrate these precession cycles of 26,000 years with the Mayans and in India as well as probably in Mesopotamia. So the ancients across the world knew about precession, but that's another subject. We don't go into it. While I think that what I said is already kind of out of the box, what I will say now will be much more. So if you don't like to think or see things out of the box, then maybe you should better leave this video. I will do it short because this video is already over 8 minutes, at least in my recording. So I think that the ancients wanted to get out because it was getting uncomfortable for them. While their cultures would run normally in tropics and in the Amazon forest we claim to be the source of DNA. They used Amazon amaranths, uh, Americans, probably white Americans, used Amazon amaranths, which are not black but not really white. They used them as a basis for hybridizations that will be subject of other videos. Anyhow, so it starts to get uncomfortable because temperatures are dropping more and more. They were dropping here for roughly 100,000 years. Carbon dioxide is dropping, but we don't talk about that right now. And dust is increasing, and this this could be the most hindering for them. So we claim they take matters in their own hands every so much cycles. As we said, it looks like it's every four precession cycles, which they understood very well because they registered them. They had even graphs, and the periods had names, so they understood precession cycle very well. There's quite a lot of evidence that they understood the precession cycle very well. I have to keep it short. So right here, they decide to get out of it, to run to an interglacial, in this case to the Holocene, here to an interglacial that is not the Holocene. And how could they do that? I see at least two ways for them to do that. One way is deforesting, because deforesting would stop the biotic pump effect of the forests. And the biotic pump effect is cooling. And so they would stop the cooling from the forests and from vegetation as well, from other vegetation than forests, but mainly from forests, from Climax forests, very specific, that the Native Americans, especially the Amazon Americans, Amazon Amerans, developed in the Amazon forest. So they they degrade or they destroy climax forests to come to a warming. But this we will only I will only get in more detail in other videos that were already made and videos that are in the pipeline.